See this guy right here? This is Buddy Robinson. Other than having the best name in hockey, you probably have no clue as to who he is. But of all the beautiful plays, clutch goals, and big moments throughout this season, this 6'6" journeyman with 3 career goals is about to change the entire NHL as we know it. On April 11th, 2023, the Chicago Blackhawks and the Pittsburgh Penguins faced off in Game 81 of the regular season. The implications of this game were huge. The Penguins needed a win for their playoff push, and the Blackhawks were in the business of tanking for Connor Bedard. You have one team desperate to win for the future of their franchise against another team who should be desperate to lose for the future of their franchise. The result seems certain. The Penguins should win this game easy, and the Blackhawks should throw in the towel to secure their chances at winning the lottery. However, the psychology of hockey doesn't allow for certainties. Hockey is a series of unpredictable moments and constant mistakes, and in this game, there was a ton of both. I mean, how many times are you going to see Sidney Crosby get robbed on a breakaway by Peter Mrazek? That's weirdly unpredictable, especially when it happens again and again. Mrazek was one of the worst statistical goalies in the NHL this season, yet in this game, he had a 38 save performance. Who the hell would have guessed that? The whole game was closer than anyone thought, as one team has the pressure of the world on their shoulders, while the other plays for pride and future jobs. This interesting mental dynamic caused the Penguins to play tight and Chicago to play loose. As a result, Chicago opened the scoring late in the second period, but Pittsburgh would tie it up on the power play with 14 minutes left in the third. Like I said, this game was filled with mistakes, and not tying up Evgeny Malkin's stick on the power play is a bad one to make. As expected, the mistakes kept piling up for Chicago as they gave up constant odd-man rushes, but somehow Peter Mrazek stopped everything. And as time ticked down, that really made the Penguins nervous. The narrative of blowing a gimme game against one of the worst teams in the league to miss the playoffs only gets worse and worse the longer this game stays tied. That brings us to this moment here with 9 minutes left in the third period. Now, while that might seem like an eternity of time if things go wrong, the Pittsburgh Penguins this season were a fragile mess. With multiple blown leads and a complete lack of confidence in these types of moments throughout the season, a goal against would likely crush the mental spirit of this Penguins team. On the other hand, a goal for the Penguins would alleviate all kinds of pressure and likely clinch a playoff spot. Essentially, the next goal in this game is monumental. So again, with 9 minutes left, Chicago begins their attack with a simple dump-in. The play seems harmless as the Penguins have numbers back, but this is where the unpredictable nature of hockey takes over. Chicago's D gains possession to put one on net, and instead of it going through, it hits this 6'6" tree right in the hip. That tree just so happens to be our buddy, Buddy Robinson. But let's pause for a second here to take in the rarity of this moment. At 31 years of age, Buddy Robinson has played in 11 seasons of professional hockey. He spent most of it in the AHL, but in his 62 career NHL games, he scored a grand total of 3 goals. That was until this moment right now, where he would get career goal number 4 off a lucky bounce. This one bounce would cause a chain of events that would change the entire NHL. As expected, not even 30 seconds later, the wheels fell completely off for the Penguins, and they gave up another goal to make it 3-1. The fragility of the Penguins' mental game was on full display, and the rest, of course, is history. This Chicago win caused a butterfly effect in the NHL that hasn't even begun to fully pan out yet. If the Penguins won this game, their point total would have been 93 to Florida's 92, leaving the Panthers completely out of the postseason. But this loss would eliminate them from playoff contention, and that would end the longest active postseason streak in all 4 major sports. This would lead to the Penguins completely cleaning house, and the replacement is something we'll get back to. The Panthers, of course, would go on a miracle run, which was kicked off by creating the biggest upset in NHL history against the Boston Bruins. Other than severe embarrassment for the rest of time, this loss likely marks the end of an era for Bruins hockey and a big shift for the future of the organization. Moving on to Toronto, Florida would make quick work of them, and after another year of disappointment, the Leafs decided to fire GM Kyle Dubas, who a couple of weeks later finds himself the new president of, well, you guessed it, the Pittsburgh Penguins. As for Chicago, beating the Penguins didn't initially seem like a good thing. If Chicago had lost to Pittsburgh, they would have finished the season with 57 points, which would be the lowest total in the NHL. That would have given them the best odds at landing Connor Bedard. That's a good thing. But of course, because of that one win against the Penguins in Game 81, they surpassed Columbus and Anaheim in the standings and had the third best odds heading into the lottery. Lucky for them, the third best odds would be the formula to win the lottery and draft a franchise-altering player in Connor Bedard. Columbus and Anaheim miss out on a generational superstar, and all the other teams are left in shambles trying to pick up the pieces of their failure, and that's all because of this moment right here. In a tight game with the futures of both franchises at stake, the next goal would undoubtedly change the momentum for both teams. With the amount of unpredictability that this game has already seen, we would get one more unpredictable moment that would change the entire future of the NHL as we know it.
From Chicago, in front, shot, score! It's Buddy Robinson!
So, what do you think is the craziest butterfly effect outcome to come from this one game? It's one of those things that if you watch this video maybe 4 or 5 years down the line, you'll probably go back to it and think, wow, this game changed absolutely everything for the league, especially because there's still so much that could change for the future of all these teams. I mean, whatever changes the Penguins, Blackhawks, Leafs, or really any team affected along this run make will basically all be the consequence of the result of this one game. Anyways, drop a comment leaving your thoughts, and before we end the video, I want to thank our sponsor, Hockey Training. If you're a hockey player who wants to improve your game, the Hockey Training app and YouTube channel is the best place to be. Armed with drills inspired by some of the greatest NHL players in the world, it is the #1 spot to take your game to the next level, both on and off the ice. If you're interested, I'll leave the links in the bio down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more NHL breakdowns, make sure you hit that subscribe button.